Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's presentation. We'll be talking about the mother wound. So, it will basically be understanding the impact, healing the past, and reclaiming ourselves. And before I start this whole presentation, I would like to show you a video. It will basically just nutshell the whole presentation regarding the mother wound.
Pain travels through generations, often referred to as generational trauma or generational curses. This represents your grandparents. It may not have started with them, but we're going to start with them. They had some form of pain or trauma, whether it was handed back down from their parents or they endured it themselves. But either way, unintentionally, they passed it on to your parents because they didn't know any better. It wasn't their fault, whether it was lack of resources or knowledge. And this represents your parents who passed it on to you for the same story and the same reason, unintentionally. They didn't know any better. But now there's you. You have one of two options. You can either pass it down to your daughter or son, or it can end with you. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to come with a plethora of failed relationships, of just not understanding why you feel different, why there's so much pain and suffering that you feel like you have to heal from, and a lot of it isn't your fault. But guess what? Trauma isn't your fault, but it's your responsibility to heal from it. And eventually, you'll be able to love yourself, appreciate life, and realize the fact that it might have ran in your family until it ran into you. It's not easy, but it is possible.
So as you saw on the video, the mother wound isn't basically just about your mother. So even if you had a great mother, you can still have a mother wound. It's just baggage and trauma and hurt that's been passed down through generations, specifically through women, down to daughter to daughter to daughter. And up to this point, you have a choice to either end that baggage, throw that baggage away, or pass it on to your daughter or your child. So the mother wound refers to emotional pain patterns or unmet needs passed down from mother to child through the generations. Um, and the ways it can develop is like emotional neglect. If you somehow felt emotionally neglected by your mother, that's how it can develop. Criticism, if you feel like you're always getting criticism or negativity from your mother, that can be a development. Lack of affection, like hugs, physical touch, all of that can also develop it. Control and manipulation, we find that a lot. And then abandonment, but abandonment looks different for each and everybody. Abandonment is not just in a way of maybe you were adopted or you didn't have your mother. It can also be in a way of your mother, you were in a shop and your mother basically left you in the trolley and just ran around the aisle, and at that moment you felt abandoned. That's why I'm saying even if you had a great mother, you can still have a mother wound because it's something small that can have a big impact on you on long term. And then unrealistic expectations. If you feel like you can never meet your mother's expectations or she has very high expectations of you, that can also develop the mother wound. And then lastly, your mother's own unresolved trauma. Obviously, if you pass it down, you're going to receive it. It just means she had her own trauma that was unresolved within her. So moving on to the next slide, it is signs of the mother wound. And some common signs include fear of rejection, people pleasing, which is very big amongst women, low self worth. I feel like a lot of these go hand in hand, like low self worth and fear of rejection can be a big thing. Difficulty trusting others, uh, fear of abandonment. Obviously, if you received abandonment, you will fear abandonment through your life. Um, you maybe need a constant need of validation that also goes in with people pleasing. So you might be a people pleasing because you are in this constant need for validation. Perfectionism, it's like the good girl curse that many women sit with is like everything needs to be perfect and I need to be perfect just to be accepted for who I am. Emotional numbness is also a very big thing. Then difficulty setting boundaries, that also goes hand in hand with like people pleasing. You have this fear of saying no because you maybe fear abandonment or you fear rejection. That's why you struggle with your boundaries. And then you just have a general feeling of, I'm not good enough. Obviously, you will feel that if you had a mother who made you feel like she had too high expectations of you. Okay, and then moving on to how the mother wound affects relationships. Okay, so the mother wound obviously does influence that at the end. So let's firstly talk about how it influences romantic relationships. You will have a fear of intimacy. So you might deeply crave intimacy with your partner, but you will, even if it's subconsciously, you will have this fear of having intimacy with somebody romantically. Or another spectrum is you might become very overly attached very quickly. That is where I, I know a lot of women went through this. It's like you meet a guy and you see him in a shop and it's like, oh wow, that's my husband. And then it's like a way of you become overly attached way too soon instead of just being securely attached and just seeing how the thing develops, the relationship develops. Or the other thing is you might choose emotionally unavailable partners. That's where you get your anxious attachment and your avoidant attachment. If you have an anxious attachment, there's a big likelihood that you probably have a mother wound because you're anxious, and an avoidant partner is usually somebody who is emotionally unavailable. And then the last point is you seek validation through relationship. You feel like you are nothing if you're not in a relationship. You need that the relationship to actually feel like you're good enough to live in society. Okay, and then friendships also, obviously. The first one is you might fear betrayal. That's where you get a lot of women stabbing each other in the back because you feel like you have this fear of betrayal and you might find yourself stabbing somebody in the back before they can do it to you. Um, you might have a difficulty open up emotionally because in some way subconsciously you have this thing against women and that shows up in your friendship relationships also. So you have this difficulty opening up to another woman because that's how you felt with your mother who was also a woman. And then there's another point is overgiving to keep the connection, obviously. So you overgive and you overgive. You hear this a lot also where people say like I give and I give and I give and I end up empty. It's probably because you overgive. It's time to come back to yourself, to stop overgiving, because you don't need to overgive to keep connections. And then the last one, which I feel is quite important, it is relationship with yourself. So the first point here is you will have a harsh inner critic. You will be extremely hard on yourself unnecessarily, or you might carry a lot of shame and guilt. And then the last thing is difficulty feeling worthy of love. So you will have this inner feeling of I'm not worthy of love. And that also goes together with the inner critic. You're harsh on yourself, you're hard on yourself, and overall that you don't love yourself. Okay, then let's talk about the generational trauma. The mother wound is often passed down through generations. We have covered that part already. So many mothers were never taught emotional regulation, or they experienced trauma themselves, or they lacked emotional support, or they were raised in survival mode. So healing the mother wound can stop unhealthy emotional patterns from continuing in the future. So if you heal it, you stop it from continuing. It ends with you at the end of the day. Okay, so let's just talk about the emotional and psychological effects about it. So the possible effects include anxiety, depression, chronic stress, emotional insecurity, attachment issues, burnout from overgiving, difficulty expressing your emotions, or low confidence. So, all these I named now, some people experience some of them, some people experience all of them. Um, with this, it depends on how the case was, because I feel like you get worst case scenario and you get cases where it's the mother wound is a bit less likely in your life, but so that will depend on the side effects you might probably have. Okay, so healing the mother wound. Okay, so healing can involve self awareness. Firstly, it's to gain self awareness and say, yes, I had a mother and she wasn't able to give me everything I needed, but that's okay. She had her own baggage, and I'm becoming aware of myself and my situation and my healing and my trauma. And then therapy or counseling, that's always a great place to go. I think a lot of people fear going to therapy or counseling, but you'll be fine if you go. And then inner child healing, which is one of the ways I loved, and it's one of the ways I started my healing journey, is by healing my inner child, because I feel like that's where the mother wound starts. It starts when you were a child, and from there it was just a build up. So basically, going back and healing that inner child who needed the most healing or needed the most safety, um, can help you also find healing, and stopping the generational wound. Okay, then it's journaling. I feel like journaling is very underrated by a lot of people. You would be surprised about how healing and therapeutic journaling can be, and just writing out all your thoughts and emotions and everything that happened to you. And I feel like a lot of people feel like it's like they put what's inside of them on paper, and maybe your privacy will be invaded or somebody might see it. It's a very vulnerable thing to people who aren't used to it to begin with. But as soon as you just start to feel safe about journaling, the easier it will get, and the more you will be able to journal and feel better about it. And then setting healthy boundaries, of course, starting to say no, not just to people, not just in relationships, but I do want to say that sometimes you need to get to a point where you set healthy boundaries with your mother. But that's completely your choice. I'm just giving you advice to set healthy boundaries. If you feel like your mother continues to put you under trauma, you have the right within you to choose yourself and set boundaries. But in general, set boundaries with people in a healthy way. And then learning self compassion, which we'll go in more a bit later. And then building healthy relationships. So, if you don't know what a healthy relationship looks like, obviously you're going to struggle to build healthy relationships. But just know that it is also a journey. It's not an overnight process. So it's like gaining awareness, on how you can build healthy relationships. And then the last point is breaking that toxic patterns, which goes with, um, building healthy relationships. In the end, if you can just start setting healthy boundaries for yourself, you will be able to build more healthy relationships and breaking toxic patterns that are in your life. Okay, like I said previously, we'll move into a bit more of self compassion right now. So, this is just the importance of self compassion. So, many people with the mother wound blames themselves. It's easy to blame ourselves sometimes for things that are not our fault. So, self compassion means you need to speak more kindly with yourself. That harsh inner critic, try to change it from negative to positive so it's not that harsh on yourself anymore. Then accept your emotions. Accept the good, the bad, the ugly. All your emotions are fine. It's okay to feel them. You need to start accepting them. And then Understanding your pain without shame, understanding that you did have pain, understanding that you went through stuff or that things happened without feeling the shame behind them. And then the last point is allowing yourself to heal at your own pace. Like I said, healing is not an overnight process, it is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight. You need to go with the pace you feel emotionally ready to go for. So, healing begins when self judgment is replaced with self understanding. Okay, then moving on to the next slide, it is breaking the cycle. How do we break this cycle? So the ways you can break this generational cycle is firstly by improving emotional awareness, practice healthy communication, learn secure attachment habits, teach emotional safety to children. Obviously, if you want to end it with you, it starts with you to teach it to your children. And then normalize asking for help. I know a lot of women feel like they find it very difficult to ask for help, and just to normalize asking for help. And then the last one is create healthier family dynamics. Okay, so healing healing yourself can positively impact your future generations. This cycle ends with us, so our children can begin differently. Okay, let's conclude all of this. The mother wound is a deeply emotional experience that can affect self worth, relationships, and emotional health. So, however, awareness creates understanding. Healing is possible. Generational cycles can be broken. You can break them all. And self love and emotional growth can transform lives. You're not alone. You are worthy of healing, love, and have a peaceful future. And that's it for today. Um, yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for the presentation. I'll see you guys again next time.